They say grief breaks you, but sometimes it breaks you open. Every morning, Grace Montgomery walks past the same man, same hoodie, same silence. But what she sees isn't just a homeless man. She sees her son, the one she buried 15 years ago. Grace Montgomery wakes up every morning to the echo of a house that used to be full. The ceiling fan hums above her bed, and outside, the wind rustles the bare limbs of the magnolia tree in her front yard. Her 74-year-old hands stretch across the embroidered quilt she stitched decades ago with her late mother. The weight of time has made her bones slower, but her mind is still sharp. Sharper than she wants it to be sometimes. She pads across the hardwood floors of her mansion in southwest Atlanta, an old estate built in 1912, restored piece by piece during her glory years in real estate. Every step creaks with memory. The halls are decorated with vintage gold frames, photos of her younger self in power suits, shaking hands with mayors, ribbon cuttings, new developments, proud smiles. And at the center of it all, one photo she always stops at. Trey, 17, radiant, one arm slung around his guitar, the other flashing a peace sign. His smile, it broke hearts, and hers was the first. He was her only son, her miracle. Born when she was already in her late 30s, after miscarriages and doctors saying it was too late. He was soft in ways the world didn't understand, wrote poetry, played piano at night, doodled song lyrics in the margins of his math homework. But Atlanta, in all its beauty and brutality, didn't give boys like Trey much room to float. The streets called him louder than she could. And one night, a bullet did what no mother should ever have to imagine. Grace found him in the morgue, his guitar pick still in his pocket. He'd been dead 15 years, and the house had been silent ever since. She keeps herself busy. That's what everyone says you're supposed to do, right? She volunteers at the Haven, a youth center she helped fund after Trey's death. She hosts galas, writes checks, speaks at city events. But when she comes home, the silence swallows her whole. And yet, each morning she walks the same route, down the cracked sidewalk, past the overpass where the 14th Street Bridge shadows the street. She doesn't always look, but she always sees him. Jamal, late 20s, maybe early 30s, tall, thin, layers of clothes even in spring, hood pulled low, back against the wall, knees tucked, silent. Some days he's asleep, others he just stares out, eyes glassy, unreachable, but always still. She leaves him coffee sometimes, once a thermos of chicken noodle soup, once a paperback book, The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. He didn't touch it, but she kept leaving things anyway, because in Jamal she saw not just a stranger, she saw Trey. Not who Trey was, but who he might have become had he lived longer in a world that didn't see him. One night, a bitter wind sweeps through Atlanta, the kind of cold that claws at skin, even under heavy coats. Grace is leaving a charity gala, pearls on her neck, heels in her hand. Her driver offers to take a longer route to avoid the dark underpasses, but something in her gut pulls her back to the bridge. "Take Boulevard," she says. As they turn the corner, her heart drops. Jamal. He's not curled in his usual spot. He's sprawled on the ground, face down. Blood is pooling from a split in his scalp. His hands are cut, his hoodie ripped. She gasps. "Stop the car!" The driver hesitates. "I said stop!" She's out of the car before the tires finish rolling. Her knees hit the concrete beside him. His chest rises, barely. She pulls out her phone, but her finger hovers over 911. She remembers how they treated Trey. The police, the paramedics, the assumptions, the looks, how they chalked his death up to just another black boy in the wrong place. She can't let Jamal become another body lost in the system. Instead, she dials another number. Jackie. Jackie was a nurse at Grady Memorial for 40 years before retiring. She's seen worse. But when she opens the guest house door and sees Grace dragging a bloodied man inside, even she blinks twice. "You gonna adopt him too?" she asks, pulling on latex gloves. Grace doesn't flinch. "I just couldn't leave him." Jackie grumbles, but begins stitching anyway. Jamal's breathing is shallow, his pulse faint. But he's alive. "He'll make it," Jackie says an hour later. Physically, Grace nods, exhausted. He's got a long road, though. Grace whispers, "So do I." The morning sun peeks through the blinds, casting pale light across the guest house. Jamal's eyes snap open. He breathes hard, quick, shallow gulps of air. For a moment, he doesn't know where he is. His hands instinctively reach for something. Anything familiar, but all he feels are clean sheets and a warm blanket. He sits up too fast. Pain flares in his side where the bruises haven't yet healed. His head pounds. His knuckles sting. He looks down. His hoodie's gone. Bandages wrap his ribs. His boots are by the door, neatly placed. Panic kicks in. He stumbles toward the door, still woozy, still bleeding somewhere inside. But before he can turn the knob, a voice stops him. "You're not a prisoner," Grace says from the doorway, a steaming mug of tea in her hand. Jamal turns sharply. "Why am I here?" "To heal," she answers. "I didn't ask you to save me," he spits. "You didn't have to." "This ain't charity," he snaps. "Then what the hell is it?" "Family," she says, like it's the most obvious thing in the world. He blinks. That word doesn't live in his vocabulary anymore. Not really. Not since his mother gave up on him. Not since the foster homes. Not since his cellmate taught him how to fold pain into silence. He's not sure whether to believe her. He's not sure he wants to. But his legs hurt. His lungs ache. And damn it, the blanket was warm. He sits back down on the bed, halfway between flight and surrender. The days pass slowly. Jamal spends most of his time staring out the window or sleeping. Grace respects the quiet, understanding that healing doesn't respond well to force. She leaves meals at his door. Warm, always homemade. Fried catfish on Fridays. Buttermilk biscuits on Sundays. Once, she leaves a plate with collard greens and macaroni so good he wants to cry. But he doesn't. Not yet. Instead, he listens. He listens to the house, the faint hum of gospel music in the mornings, the whisper of Grace's footsteps in the hall, the ticking of an old grandfather clock he swears is older than he is. And at night, he walks into the main house. One evening, he notices the baby grand piano again. He lingers, drawn to it like a ghost pulled toward memory. On top of it sits a photo of Trey. He studies it longer this time, not just the boy's face, but the spark in his eyes, like he was almost someone great before life clipped his wings. "Was he yours?" Jamal finally asks, standing beside the piano. Grace looks up from her book. "My heart," she says. "He looks like someone who felt everything," Jamal murmurs. Grace nods slowly. "He did. More than I ever realized." They share a silence filled with echoes of what was and what might have been. Jamal runs his hand along the edge of the piano. "I never learned to play," he says. Grace looks at him. It's not too late. And something deep in Jamal's chest shifts. The next week, Grace invites Jamal to the church on Auburn Avenue. She doesn't force it. Just leaves the flyer on the kitchen table. He picks it up and reads, "Community Reentry Circle, Vertical Bar Sunday, 3 p.m. Vertical Bar, all welcome." Curiosity drags him there, not obligation. That's where he meets Brother Elijah, tall, dark-skinned, with a thunderous voice softened by compassion. He doesn't preach. He listens. When Jamal tells him, "I don't do God," Elijah chuckles and says, "That's all right. God still does you." Then comes Tasha, a young therapist who holds group circles at the Haven. Jamal immediately thinks she's too young to understand the kind of pain he's seen, but her words slice clean through his walls. "You ever notice how the world always tells black men they're too angry, but never asks what made them that way?" she asks one day. He doesn't respond, but he starts attending her sessions. Kenny, the barber, is next. Jamal walks into his shop one day and Kenny points at the chair. "Sit down, nephew. You look like you've been through 5 lifetimes. He gives him a fresh cut. Clean lines, no questions. In that moment, Jamal feels more human than he has in years. At the Haven, the kids start gravitating toward him. They test his patience, especially Malik, who thinks every question is a challenge and every adult a liar. But one day, Malik asks him quietly, "You ever been in juvie?" Jamal doesn't flinch. "Yeah, you trying to go?" Malik shrugs. "Sometimes it feels easier than this." Jamal puts a hand on his shoulder. Nah, man, don't ever confuse familiar with safe. They sit together in silence. A village is forming. And Jamal, for the first time, doesn't feel outside of it. By spring, Jamal's walking straighter. He's eating regularly, participating, laughing even. Encouraged by Grace and Elijah, he applies for a forklift operator job at a distribution center. He updates his resume, what little of it he has. Tasha helps him write a cover letter. He dresses sharp, borrows a tie from Kenny, walks in with hope in his chest. A week later, the rejection comes. Criminal history, no exceptions. He doesn't say anything at first. He just walks, for hours, through the park, past the MARTA station, into the night. When he returns, Grace finds him sitting on the back steps of the guest house. His hands are shaking. I did everything right, he says. I showed up on time, spoke proper, smiled, didn't flinch when they asked about my past. And it still wasn't enough. Grace sits beside him. I know that pain, she says. Trey worked so hard to stay clean, to stay smart, but none of that stopped the bullet. Jamal lowers his head. I keep asking myself, what's the point? Grace looks at him, steady. The point is, you're still showing up. He doesn't speak, but that night, he writes again. He scribbles into a notebook Grace gave him. The last line reads, maybe the mountain never moves. Maybe I just learn how to climb. Oh, it's a stormy Thursday night when Jamal finds Grace staring at the piano. The lightning outside flickers like a warning. She sits with her fingers trembling above the keys. But she never plays. Jamal walks in, silent. You ever wonder if we get haunted by the things we didn't do? She asks suddenly. All the time, he says. She doesn't look at him. Her eyes stay on the piano. Trey begged me to believe in his music. I told him it wasn't realistic. I pushed him toward business school. I didn't want him to struggle the way I did. Jamal steps closer. You were trying to protect him. She lets out a bitter laugh. Protect him from dreams? I crushed the very thing that made him light up. And then I lost him anyway. The silence sits between them like a ghost. I never even touched this piano again, she whispers. Jamal gently reaches forward and presses a single note. It lingers in the air like an open wound. Play, he says softly. Grace's hands fall to her lap. I don't know if I remember how. Try anyway, he replies. We both forgot how to live, but maybe we can relearn. And for the first time in 15 years, she plays. A broken melody, but real, and healing begins. Summer brings change. Jamal begins leading a youth workshop called Truth Sessions. It starts with 5 kids, then 10, then a waiting list. He teaches them how to channel rage into rhythm, pain into poetry. He stands at the front, not as a teacher, but as a mirror. Every scar on me came with a lesson, he tells them. You can carry yours like anchors or wear them like armor. He reconnects with his sister after 5 years of silence. He apologizes. She cries. He meets his 4-year-old niece for the first time. At the Haven, Malik becomes his shadow. He's calmer now. He writes his first spoken word poem and performs it at open mic night. When he finishes, he looks to Jamal. You proud? Jamal nods. Of you, of us. Even Grace notices the shift, his posture, his voice, the light in his eyes. It's like watching soil turn back into something that can grow. At night, they sit on the porch and talk about life, about regret, about possibility. She tells him, I lost Trey, but in knowing you, I feel like I'm learning to forgive myself. He squeezes her hand. Maybe we saved each other. The summer block party at the Haven is full of music, barbecue smoke, and laughter. Children run through sprinklers while local artists perform on makeshift stages. Grace watches from under a tent, sunglasses on, lemonade in hand, a soft smile on her face. Jamal stands near the DJ booth, arms crossed, nodding to the beat, dressed in a clean polo and jeans. He hasn't felt this light in, maybe ever. As the sun dips below the skyline, he grabs a few folding chairs to help clean up. On the walk to his car, parked on a side street away from the crowd, he hears voices. Familiar ones. 3 men leaning against a rusted sedan. His old crew. Yo, look who it is, one of them says, stepping forward with a smirk. Mr. Youth Pastor now? Another laughs. You out here coaching little leaguers now, Jay? Their tone is playful, but their eyes are sharp. Jamal swallows. His fists clench instinctively. His heart thumps like it used to, fast and defensive. I'm good, he says flatly, hoping to walk past. But the tallest one blocks his path. Just don't forget who you were, bro. Don't get too holy. Jamal is seconds from doing something he'll regret when headlights slice through the dusk. Kenny's car rolls to a stop beside them. Elijah steps out slowly, calm, powerful. You all right, nephew? He calls. Jamal looks at the three men, then back at Elijah. I am now, he says. The three men back off. Not because they're scared, because Jamal isn't scared. This time, he doesn't let his past choose for him. He chooses for himself. And he chooses peace. 3 months later, the Haven buzzes with energy. A new wing is opening, thanks to a grant secured by Grace and supported by private donors. The mural is nearly complete. 2 boys, one with a guitar, one with a microphone, rising from concrete into a sky full of dreams. The space is named Trey's Room, a creative sanctuary, recording equipment, easels, notebooks, a piano, and most importantly, open doors. At the ribbon-cutting ceremony, families crowd into folding chairs. Kids hold up their drawings. Reporters snap photos. Grace, dressed in soft lavender, sits in the front row. She clutches a tissue, but her face glows. Jamal steps onto the makeshift stage. His suit jacket hugs his shoulders. His shoes shine. He clears his throat. I was invisible once, he begins. I walked past people like y'all every day, and they never looked twice. But one woman saw me. Not just my face, my soul. He glances at Grace. She didn't rescue me. She reminded me that I still existed. And then came Elijah, Tasha, Kenny, this whole community. They didn't just give me shelter. They gave me a mirror. He looks at the kids in the front row. I spent so long believing I had nothing to offer. But the truth is, we all carry gifts. Even when the world forgets us, we still carry light. He gestures toward the mural. This space isn't about me. It's about all of us. It's for the boys who think no one's coming. It's for the kids who think dreaming is a luxury. It's for Trey. Grace's eyes fill with tears, but this time they fall without ache. This time, they're filled with pride. As Jamal steps down, Malik runs up to him and throws his arms around his waist. Mr. J, you're the realest person I've ever met. Jamal holds the boy tightly. Nah, he whispers. I'm just what happens when someone refuses to stop seeing you. And in that moment, Grace realizes something. Her house isn't silent anymore, because love has found its way back in.